Hello, hello, and welcome to Comfort in the Dark. I'm glad you're here with me today. Today, we're diving into a question that might sound a little strange at first. Why does true crime appeal to so many people? It's a topic that is a little dark, a little surprising, and honestly, really interesting when you stop and think about it. Why are so many people drawn to stories that should make them uncomfortable? And why do some people find true crime fascinating or even comforting instead of just disturbing? Let's talk about it. Have you ever noticed how common true crime has become? People listen to true crime podcasts while driving, folding laundry, cooking dinner, or trying to unwind at the end of the day. And when you really stop and think about that, it sounds a little strange. Why are people choosing stories about real crime, real victims, and real fear as something they listen to in everyday life? That is what I want to talk about today. Let's dive in. This topic stood out to me because true crime is one of those things that a lot of people enjoy, but not everyone really stops to ask why. Is it just entertainment? Is it curiosity? Is it fear? Or is it something deeper than that? I think a lot of people, it is a mix of things. True crime can create fear, but it can also create a sense of control, understanding, and even comfort. And as odd as that sounds, there are reasons behind it. So let's get into it. I think one of the biggest reasons people are drawn to true crime is curiosity. People are naturally curious about other people, especially when someone's behavior feels extreme, shocking, or hard to understand. A lot of true crime fans are not listening because they enjoy violence. They are listening because they are trying to understand the why behind it. Why did this happen? What warning signs were there? What made this person act that way? Could it have been prevented? There is something very human about wanting answers, especially when something feels chaotic or senseless. True crime often takes a confusing, upsetting event and lays it out piece by piece. There's usually a timeline, an investigation, evidence, and some kind of outcome. Even when the ending is tragic, the story itself has structure. And honestly, I think structure matters. Real life does not always feel neat or explainable. Sometimes things happen and there are no clear answers. But true crime stories often offer people a way to follow the pieces and make sense of something that would otherwise feel random. And that alone can be really powerful. Another big reason true crime appeals to people is fear. Now, I do not just mean fear as in being scared while listening. I mean fear in the sense of wanting to understand danger. A lot of people listen to true crime almost like they're learning something. They may be thinking, what should I watch for? What situations are unsafe? What details matter? How do people protect themselves? For some people, true crime does not just feel interesting, it feels informative. It can create this feeling that if you understand danger better, maybe you can protect yourself better too. Now, obviously, listening to true crime does not stop bad things from happening, but psychologically, I do think it can make fear feel less vague. and vague fear is often the hardest kind to sit with. When fear becomes a story with details, patterns, and explanations, it can start to feel more manageable. It gives people something to follow, something to analyze, something to learn from, and that can make a person feel a little less hopeless. That brings me to what I think is one of the biggest pieces of this topic: control. True crime usually takes something terrifying and puts it at a distance. You are hearing about it from a safe place. You are not in the danger. You are not living the event. You are observing it. And when people can observe something scary from a safe distance, it can create a feeling of control. Or get to press play. You get to press play. You get to pause it. You get to skip parts. You get to listen when you want. That is very different from fear in real life, where people usually do not have that kind of control. So in a strange way, true crime can let people engage with fear while still feeling safe. And I think that is one reason some people find it comforting. Not comforting because the topic is pleasant, because obviously it's not, but comforting because it turns something dark and unpredictable into something contained and understandable. Instead of just feeling like the world is unsafe and random, the story says, here's what happened, here's how it unfolded, here's what was missed, and here's how it ended. There's something grounding about that. So why do some people say true crime is actually comforting? At first, that sounds strange, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. A lot of comfort comes from familiarity and routine. People rewatch the same shows, replay the same songs, and go back to the same movies all the time. Not always because the content is light or happy, but because it is familiar. True crime can work like that too. A lot of podcasts and documentaries follow a format. There is a setup, a mystery, an investigation, and some kind of explanation. Even though the subject matter is dark, the format itself can feel predictable, and predictability often feels calming. Some people may also find comfort in the host's voice, the routine of listening, or just the act of focusing on something outside of their own stress. Have you ever noticed that sometimes it feels easier to focus on someone else's story than sit alone with your own thoughts? I think that can be part of it too. For some listeners, true crime is not only about crime, it is also about routine, distraction, pattern, and trying to understand something from a safe distance. At the same time, I do think this topic has an ethical side that matters. Because these are real people, real victims, and real families, real pain. And I think true crime crosses a line when people forget that. There is a difference between being curious and being careless. There's a difference between wanting to understand a case and treating someone's tragedy like entertainment with no thought behind it. So while true crime can be fascinating and even psychologically comforting, for some people, I also think listeners have a responsibility to think about how they are consuming it. Are they listening with respect, Are they remembering that these were real lives? Are creators telling these stories responsibly? Those questions matter too. So, why does true crime appeal to some people? I think a lot of it comes down to curiosity, fear, and control. People are curious about human behavior and want to understand what feels hard to understand. People are also afraid of danger, and true crime can make that fear feel more understandable and less random. And maybe most important, true crime can create a feeling of control. It also allows people to explore dark subjects from a safe distance with structure, explanation, and sometimes even resolution. That does not mean everyone will find it comforting. Some people find it upsetting, and that makes complete sense too. But for others, true crime is not just about darkness. It is about trying to understand. And maybe that is why it holds so much attention. Because sometimes people are not looking for darkness itself. Sometimes they are looking for answers, patterns, and the feeling that even the worst thing can still be examined, understood, and named. And in its own strange way, that can feel like comfort. Thank you for listening today. I hope you all have a great day.